So I got myself a copy of the Walther WMP, partly because I knew you'd be interested in hearing about it, and partly because I was very curious about it. It's been out for a while now, and somehow I really had no idea about it. I kind of had overlooked it entirely. Thank goodness my dealer at Firing Distance keeps me up to date on things that I miss. Let's start out with my remarks at the range, and then I'll fill in some additional details throughout the video.
Okay, range time with the new Walther WMP. So for starters, before I take my first shot, which I have not done yet, let me say that I am intrigued by the Walther WMP, which is chambered, of course, in .22 Magnum. But I'm also very hesitant and skeptical because I have yet to fire a semi-automatic handgun chambered in .22 Magnum that works worth a damn. Revolvers are generally fine, but semi-automatics have a lot of challenges. I'll go into that a little bit maybe as we go on and talk about it. Most of you guys already know what those challenges are, some may not, but the biggest challenge, I believe, is number one, it's a rimmed fire and therefore a rimmed cartridge. Rimmed cartridges were never really meant to be fed semi-automatically. Number two, it's a very long cartridge, long and thin, .22 caliber, but very long. And the wall of the case, the brass case, is pretty thin. It only needs to be so thick for the pressures that it gets, and that makes it a little bit flimsy. And because it's so long, it has a tendency to buckle, especially if you have to put a lot of force down on the cartridges to load them into the magazines. You can actually dent the ones below with the rim. I've done that. You can also, when you're kind of wrenching on it with your thumb, trying to get it in there, loading magazines, you can also actually bend one, and I've done that. Magazine loading is one of the biggest challenges when it comes to .22 Magnum in a semi-automatic, and the other is, of course, firing and cycling the gun. But I will say, after loading both of these magazines, it comes with two 15-round magazines. After loading them both for the first time, it was a piece of cake. I was able to load all 15 with just using one thumb on the little follower helper, which is on both sides of the magazine. It's got the little pull downs that are included. They work so nice that I only had to use my thumb on one side, and I was able to hold the magazine in my hand and do it. I didn't have to put it down on a table to get, extra support. Super easy to load. I was watching them as I loaded them, and it looks like the rims all go right how they're supposed to, and there shouldn't be any kind of rim lock problems. Having said all of that, who knows? So let's go ahead and take a look at the Walther WMP for the very first time. The gun is bigger than I expected it to be, but I think a lot of that is simply because of, again, that long cartridge and the fact that they've got to make everything work around the length and the size of that round. But here we go. I seated the magazine with full 15 rounds with the slide closed, and it's seated very, very nicely, and it is in there securely. So, chambered the first round without any problem. And I'm probably doing more detailed play-by-play here simply because I have had so many problems with .22 Magnum, and I know a lot of you guys have too. So kind of trying to describe every single activity just because of that. All right, here we go. First shots. .22 Magnum is so much fun. Well, there's 15 without any flaws whatsoever. And oh, by the way, ambidextrous magazine releases of both types. You got your button, for those of you who like the button, and you got the paddles, for those of you who like the paddles. I kind of like the paddles. So the only reason I'm really even reviewing this gun, and I bought this myself out of pocket over the counter and all that. The only reason I bought this gun and I'm reviewing it is because, as you know, if you watch my channel, I'm a Walther fan. I love Walther's products. They make fantastic handguns. Otherwise, if it was just somebody else's 22 Magnum, I probably would have been a hard pass because I've had so much bad experience with 22 Magnum. But I said, well, if Walther's putting their name on this gun and they're mass producing it and selling it on the market, it's going to have to work. Walther is not going to put out a gun that just doesn't work. So based on that faith, I said, yeah, give me one and let's give it a try. So I'm only 15 rounds in, but I'm impressed because I'm pretty sure that I've never gotten this far without a problem with any other 22 Magnum. So in a semi-automatic at least. So this time I do have the slide locked back, and I'm going to insert the magazine and use the slide stop, slide release lever, which is also an ambidextrous control. There we go. So functionality wise, everything is working exactly like it's supposed to without any kind of hiccups. This is a hammer fired gun, by the way, a little interesting point. This is a hammer fired gun. Kind of reminds me of the old PPX 9mm from Walther, if you remember that one. All right, magazine number 2. Just sort of initial thoughts and function here. Wow, that last little hiccup was me. It's the trigger has a pretty long reset, and that again is because it's a hammer-fired gun. So 2 magazines down, not a single flaw. It's a lot of fun to shoot. Might have to put some paper down range and see what kind of group I can make with it.
Okay, the specs are rather basic. It's a modern Walther handgun and it looks and feels like one. In other words, excellent. It's 8.2 inches long overall, 5.66 inches tall, 1.48 inches wide, which is fairly thick, and it weighs 27.8 ounces with an empty magazine. Walther claims a 4.5 pound trigger pull, and it feels just like that, in typical Walther fashion. WMP stands for Walther Magnum Pistol, which I actually figured out all on my very own. But I don't think they really need to be more specific. I doubt we're going to ever see a model or a similar one chambered for any other Magnum loads.
Okay, just some fun accuracy testing, nothing scientific. I'm not even going to rest it or sit or any of that. I'm going to stand, I'm going to hand hold it, and I'm going to shoot with both eyes open. I'm going to do all the things I normally do when I'm shooting a handgun because that's how I want to see how I shoot the gun. Okay, the distance is 16 yards that I will be shooting. You say, why? Why 16? Well, because that's how far away the target is. Silly. Okay, I'm starting with 10 rounds of CCI Maxi-Mag 22 Magnum. That's the stuff that I've been shooting so far. And I'm going to go to the top of these 2 targets. Okay, there's those 10, and I can't even see the holes from here, so you've got them on the screen, you can see them and I can't. You have an advantage on me. These are Winchester Dynapoint. The CCI was 40 grain. This Winchester is 45 grain. Go to the bottom of the two targets. Well, I was gonna say, you know, that first one that felt different than the CCI. And now I have failure to fire, and I don't know why. So this is the first time I've shot anything besides CCI. So we might have a learning experience here with respect to the ammo. Let's see what we've got. Okay. Well, the reason that felt funny was because it did not load the next round. So let's try that again. Okay. Wonder if we had the same problem. Failure to load a round. Yep. So, with this Winchester, it is not liking it as far as feeding. I don't see anything wrong with the way they're in the mag. They're loaded in just the same. And I'm definitely not soft gripping the gun. No limp wristing going on here. And even though this is a hammer fired gun, it's pretty much single action only. So there is no restrike capability. It just does not load the next round. So I'm going to try just racking it without checking next time. Or we'll be here all day. And I don't know about you, but I got stuff to do. Let me guess. Click. Yep. There we go. All right, I finally got through those 10. Holy cow. The mag release is superb. I really like that. Haven't really used the button one yet. I'll try that, but I really love the paddle release on a gun that has it. All right, let me go change targets and take a look at those first two. Be right back. Okay, new target, new ammo. This is Hornady VMAX. This is 30 grain. This is expensive stuff. It's like if you were gonna use 22 Magnum for like any kind of serious stuff, this is probably the ammo you want to go to. Presumably. Let's see how it functions in this gun. Okay, going to the top target. Damn. Boy, there's a lot of muzzle flash with this stuff. I can see it from here. All right, well that one worked itself out faster, but still a curious, disheartening kind of thing about that feeding. All right, and last, arms core. This is 40 grain. So arms core, 40 grain. Also nicely packaged. This is a soft point, a lead soft point with a bit of a hollow. Anytime 22 says hollow point, I kind of giggle. But anyway, it's actually the only nickel cased in the mix. All right, let's see how we do with this. Arms core stuff. All right, well that performed very well. So arms core and CCI, no problems. The Hornady, not too bad, had a couple that didn't want to feed, and the Winchester was quite challenging. So I'll have to look further into that, but anyway, check out those targets.
So why 22 Magnum? I have said and I continue to believe that 22 Magnum is a legitimate round, even for protection. There's nearly no recoil and enough power that with a few rounds fired it would likely stop pretty much any threat. And there are some people who need that type of round. The ammo is a bit too expensive for fun plinking, but otherwise it would be really great for that too. My problem has always been with the delivery system for the ammunition. Pardon my honesty, but no one has really ever made a 22 Magnum that works. After a day at the range, I think that Walther has made the best one so far. It's not perfect, and I had a lot of problems with the Winchester ammo and a few problems with some other ammo. CCI Maxi Mag ran perfect. I don't think it's terribly accurate, at least not for my initial tests. I'm no champion marksman, but I can shoot better groups than I got with this gun. I love all the ergonomic controls, and I love that Walther gave us both types of magazine releases. The magazines load easily and perfect, and didn't cause any malfunctions at all. That's a huge plus. The holes in the front of the slide are cosmetic, really, and maybe to reduce some of the weight of the slide. They're not ports for gas to escape. It's optics ready, has a huge amount of pick rail out front, fantastic Walther ergonomics, all very strong points. My copy of the gun has some very interesting grinding marks in the barrel lug area. They were clearly made during assembly because the tool marks are rough, even sharp, and there's no finish on that part of the metal. So the only thing I can guess is that there was maybe some kind of a design flaw that was discovered or reported that, affected the cycling of the action, and these corrective relief cuts somehow fixed that.
All right, enough with the paper targets. I was not all that terribly impressed with my shooting and my groups, and I don't think I can try and blame that on the gun or the ammo. They looked pretty consistent. The first two groups were pretty consistent, and then the second two groups were different, but pretty consistent. So interesting. All right, so I'm going to run 10 rounds through of the CCI ammo just to sort of settle for me and for you that the gun is still functioning like it's supposed to and like it was those first couple mags. Come on. Now that doesn't want to work. All right. And just a FYI for anybody who wants to remark, I did field strip and lubricate the gun and everything before bringing it to the range. So it's not, I'm not running it dry, and it's not dirty or any of that kind of stuff, or at least it wasn't dirty when I got here. This is a pretty dirty round, so it doesn't take long for them to get that way. All right, here we go, 10 rounds. It's definitely not the gun, or at least it's not the gun with this ammo in it anyway, the CCI. So here's the Winchester. Winchester, this is the problem stuff, and I'm going to give it a chance to redeem itself. If it does not redeem itself, I will put it on my don't buy this again list, which Winchester ammo kind of is already on that list anyway. That one didn't, yeah, there we go. Did not feed. It looked like it tried to, maybe a little more, or did it not eject? No, it didn't eject, I don't think. No. So we've got a 99.9% extracted case, but it did not eject. So I'm going to go ahead and take the mag out. All right, so it just sort of hung up at full length, trying to eject. You say there's really no shortage of challenges with the 22 Magnum rimfire cartridge when it comes to semi-automatic guns, and quite honestly, I wonder why anybody tries. And I was all the more surprised when I saw that this gun was, in existence, because I was like, why does Walther want to do that to themselves? All right, let's try it again. Okay, I did load a full 15, by the way, because I wanted to see if the full magazine would make any difference. Well, that was a nice little volley that we had right there. I'm going to presume same problem, and we sort of mangled that last one. That one is not going to go back in. No, it wasn't the last one. It may actually be salvageable. It's just nasty looking. I'm going to try it. What the heck? Yep. All right. So the Winchester did a little better this time, but it's still not making me have a warm fuzzy. And as long as I got these last 5 rounds of CCI in here, might as well shoot them. See if I can I can man up and shoot this thing with one hand, since there's virtually no recoil. We'll talk about that later. There's actually a little bit though. This gun is pretty light. The CCI Maxi-Mag, definitely the way to go as far as ammo. All right, just for the fun of it, to see if I can improve on those groups, I have done a couple things. I have not changed the distance. I kept the distance the same, but I've added a rest, as you can see, and I also put on a better pair of shooting glasses to give me better visibility, because those other dark glasses can sometimes be part of the problem. And this is the CCI Maxi-Mag ammo. It's the most consistent, may not be the most accurate, but it is certainly the most consistent performing ammo. So, 10 rounds. Let's see how it does. All right.
So my final thoughts after one range day and a couple of hundred rounds, there is still no perfect 22 Magnum semi-automatic pistol. This one comes closer than any other I've shot. I see this gun as a range toy and really not much more. I can't recommend it for defensive use because of the numerous malfunctions, even though that was clearly related to certain ammo. If you're a fan of the 22 Magnum and you have about $550 or say $500 to spend, I think you'd love it. For everyone else, I think waiting for version 2.0 might be smart. That's just an opinion. Thanks for watching.